Right, let's try that again. Good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. Just to recap, this is our championship stream. I've got two teachers on here, one from Coventry College and one from AGSB, which is Altrincham Grammar School for Boys. And today we're just going to be chatting a little bit about the British Esports Championships, which is where schools and colleges from across the country compete against each other in tournaments in a few games that we play. We play Rocket League, Overwatch, and League of Legends. Joining me today, I have Rob Cummings from AGSB, and I also have Shubs Naika Taylor from Coventry College. Let's go to them now. Good morning, guys. How are you both?
Morning. Good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good, thank you.
Excellent. And I've just told you guys where our lovely teacher friends are from, but if you guys could just introduce yourselves, tell them a little bit about what you do at your school or college, and how many teams you organise, things like that. Let's start with you, Rob.
Yeah, hi, Rob Cummins. So I work at Altrincham Grammar School for Boys, teacher of maths and head of year 12. And we got involved last year and we run two teams, Rocket League and League of Legends.
Excellent. And Shubs?
So I'm Naika Taylor from Coventry College. I am a curriculum lead for digital and creative. Would cover subjects such as game design, art design, performing arts, film, TV, all of that kind of area. I'm also the lead coordinator for our esports provision at the college as well.
Brilliant. And how many teams do you have?
Because its teams are predominantly made up of several courses, there's quite a lot, as I also cover computing as well. But my main team, because I predominantly teach on the game design course, there's 4 of us. That's my immediate team, but as a bigger picture, there's a lot more. It's essentially a department, but that's cool.
Excellent. All right. And which games have you been competing in this season?
We've been competing for Overwatch.
Nice. And Rob?
The League of Legends and Rocket League this season.
You've had both fairly good season, by all accounts. Some really good games. It's been a really competitive season. We've had some really close matches and some absolute stomps. But it's been really good fun to kind of, from my side of view, to kind of watch all these games and see the journeys of the teams. From the very beginning all the way through to to the end of the season. So could you just kind of describe for me what it's been like for your team, and the journey that you've gone on as a teacher and kind of witnessed your students partaking in the championships and their journey as well. Let's start with Shabs first this time.
Okay, so our 6 team for Overwatch, 3 of us were, well, 3 of them were actually part of the Digital Schoolhouse tournament last year for the Overwatch because it was 3v3. And because the students got so much out of it, I sort of decided that I want to do a little bit more for esports in the college. So I looked at the British Esports Association, realised that they had a 6v6 tournament, which is great. And so we started to get the team together, and I want to build on that. And I think the students would really sort of get a lot out of it as well. But that's kind of how it sort of started.
Okay, and how far did your team manage to push through in the season? Did you come across anybody who was just really strong, or did you kind of roll?
We got to semi-finals, and we were against Sears, who, of course, got right to the end. But we knew that it was going to be, a tough game, and the team played so well.
Yeah.
I couldn't be more proud. But what that does mean is that we kind of look at those aspects of the way that we played and sort of improve from that. And that's what we're aiming to do for next year, is to really sort of train harder.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, I guess you've both got some shared distaste in your mouth from the opponents in Sears, because they are just really strong, and Rob has come up against them as well. So Rob, could you just tell us a little bit about your team's journey?
Yeah.
Well, your both teams, I suppose.
Yeah, both teams. We well, the League of Legends team was a brand new team this year.
Yep.
So last year, the team that got us went all the way to the finals were a team of year 13s, and they obviously left and moved on to uni. So it was great to start up that process again, run the trials. We got a real mix this year, so it was mainly year 11s, but with a year 12 and a year 13 involved.
That's good.
So a good mix of students there, and then they've taken it. Well, both teams take it very seriously, but they've been practicing regularly, getting some coaching. First season wasn't great, but the season 4 just now went all the way to the quarters and had some fantastic matches with. I think a lot of them have been streamed.
Yep.
On the various Discord channels, and then we're taken down in the quarters. But they're really keen.
That's
Having
great to
weekly
see.
meetings, good drafting meetings, and yeah, it's what started out as a little bit of a, obviously just a bit of fun, something they enjoyed doing. They've really taken it a lot further than I thought they would. Which is great. And then the Rocket League team, again, rocky start to the season, but this previous, the spring season, again, they've been getting a bit of coaching, regular scrims over the weekends as well. It's just absolutely brilliant to see them come on, and really should be attacking next year now. So really looking forward to it.
And they got quite far, right?
They got to the semis. Yeah,
that's not bad. Team in the quarters and team in the semis. That's very impressive. Yeah, no, actually, I've been really impressed with the amount of students who have been involved in the Discord and getting on the live streams, because it's not something that we could provide for everybody. We can obviously only spectate one match and stream one, and we are looking to do a bit more of that come the next season starting in September. So really happy to see it when students kind of pick it up off their own accord and go, right, we're going to go and do some streaming, we're going to go and do some production, and we're going to cast it. I'm really, really enjoying that, and seeing that this season has become more and more of a mainstay within the champs. Really noticed it across the whole group, both Overwatch League and Rocket League have all been practicing like that. So that's really great to see. Now, Rob, you've been involved for since last season as well. But could you just tell us a little bit about your very first time when you signed up and you thought, oh, hold on a minute, should we get involved in this, and how did it go down, particularly with your school? Were you allowed to do it straight away? Did you have to pass any barriers? Yeah.
Sorry, Elliot, my audio is not working very well.
No worries. Can you hear me now? I'll tell you what, we'll come back to you in a minute. You try and sort your audio out, and Shubs,
Yeah, sorry.
If I could pose the same question to you.
Yeah, of course. So I think one of our biggest challenges to begin with was to go from a team of 3 to a team of 6, and then being able to get the best players involved as well. So we did trials, and we thought that a lot of our students really sort of wanted to get on, but it was for us and the team members that we had for definite was about winning. And so I think having subs but then never needing a sub was kind of that challenge for those particular students. But I think going through those trials and testing the team composition with the skill set of our players as well, that kind of became our success because of how tough we were at the beginning. It just so happens that some of the players that we probably wouldn't have known about if we didn't go through this trial happen to be our best players.
Wow.
And that's really sort of pushed us to end up where we actually ended up in the tournament, which is great. And so we've obviously learned a lot from that, and that's something that we'll roll out in September again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of it was a challenge, but it all paid off in the end, and it was good.
So how did you do your trials? Did you just do like one day, or come and compete against other people, or how did you do it? Did you do it over a few weeks?
It was over a week or so. So I only targeted our game students and students that we already knew because we already had that contact with them. So we looked at the games design level 3, we looked at first years, we also looked at our interactive media course and the level 2 games design as well. And 2 of our players don't come from the games course. And so I'd spoken to all the groups and said, we are doing a trial. If you want to get involved, come by. And we also said to the 3 players that we had from the previous year that if someone comes in and they're a better player than you, we're gonna, try and at least try and fit you in somehow. But it's not guaranteed, kind of thing.
Okay.
So we had games sort of going on, and we got them to do some quick play matches to see how well they listened to each other. Took on board criticism as well.
Yeah.
If we want to try and improve our players, we need someone that's going to be willing to improve. So that kind of happened over a week where we had a couple of hours in the afternoon where we just sort of played quick play games, and we sort of looked at the way they played, and then we got someone to come in to just kind of advise them in that sense. So they became their coach, I guess. But yeah, so it was a big sort of involvement. Students all, that even those that weren't even trialing for players, they got involved, and it's like, oh, I wonder who's going to get on the team. So it was a big, real sort of departmental event that sort of happened.
Wicked.
It was a good environment.
So you had a bit of luck, really, because you'd already partaken in Digi Schoolhouse 3v3, so you kind of already had that to being involved in the esports space. But I don't know if this is really, because obviously you had PCs already in play. Did you have to do? Did you have to get any more equipment? Did you have to get any more permission to kind of increase the team size and have 3 more players, or did you have to go for any barriers with your college? Did they have any problems with you setting up this team in the first place? Did they have any troubles with organising the trials or anything like that?
Well, as we are a games design course, we already had the room set up to be able to build games in the classroom. And so that was quite lucky. However, we did have to update the specs and that sort of stuff. So it kind of became an ongoing thing where we were saying that the computers are shutting down as soon as we try and enter the game. But to be honest, because we've had management and the IT department really sort of rooting for us as well, it was essentially me sort of saying, we're going to lose the game if we don't get this sorted. And they were like, we've got to get it all done. And, that was really good. That they also felt that they were involved. So if it did sort of take long, I'll just send an email to my manager and sort of say, we've got a match this Wednesday, please, can we get this sorted? And all of a sudden there was a sense of urgency, which was great. It worked really well for us.
Oh, good. So, Rob, are you back now? Is everything okay?
Back on, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, no worries. See, I was just basically asking, and it's actually probably a more potent question for you since you're part of a school, not only a school, but it's an all-boys school as well. But I was actually asking, when you first started up last year, did you have any trouble getting involved in terms of equipment, going through processes with your school, getting permission, having staff there to supervise? Did you have any of those issues?
Yeah, I had a sixth former who was and is very, very keen. And he came to me, and it was the start of the winter season. Very, very keen. Had heard about the British Esports Championships.
Yeah.
And we started to look into it and realised we didn't have the computers, the specs that would enable us to get involved properly. So we kind of put it on the back burner. And we looked at trying to then work out how we can get around it. And it turned out that technology, thankfully, had got an order in for 8 new PCs that were obviously a decent spec. And we piggybacked on them, and they've been fantastic. So we used their little computer room and managed to get involved for the spring season last year. now that that's in place, the head's been fantastic and very supportive. But I think if I'd have gone to him and said I need 8 new PCs or esports initially, probably would have said no. But now he's seen the benefit and what it brings to the school. I think it would be a different answer.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great answer. So I mean, you've obviously just told me through some of the challenges that you kind of faced there. And you also mentioned, that your head has kind of witnessed the success that you guys have had. So, do you think that this kind of story would be, good to share amongst other schools and colleges? If you can say, look, we had these troubles, but they were easily overcome by this action, and then look at what we've done. If that message was more widely spread, do you think that more schools could get involved? Is it actually just purely a money thing, or is it more of a passion project?
There's an element of money, obviously, to get the initial equipment, but the impact it's had is phenomenal. You're talking about the Digi Schoolhouse. We did a Super Smash Bros competition, and we had between 400 and 500 students turn up to watch. We had it set up in the hall. They had a little stage. We were streaming it. It's what the British Esports Championship has done, is opened up this community, and realizing that this community's out there and it's in all schools. It'll be in all schools.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, I'd really like to
into that.
Yeah, I'd love to just take a second and just say thank you as well, because you've both got a really, really strong positive influence in our Discord channel. You're both really active, and I want to thank everybody who's on the Discord channel as well for being so active and making our community so great. I don't see many arguments in there at all, ever. It's all friendly banter, it's good laughs, everybody's looking for scrims, and I think that's really what makes our championships quite so successful, is how positive the community is towards each other. So yeah, I mean, as a whole, your views on the championships from a teacher, from a teacher's perspective rather, and I'm not just talking about how you succeeded in the champs, but I'm talking about what you've seen in your students. And let's go with Shabs, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, of course. I mean, one of the big things in terms of skills that they've developed through that, to be in teamwork and communication. It's so important when you're playing a competitive game of Overwatch that you're able to communicate and you're able to work as a team. But I've seen that kind of brought in to their actual curriculum. So 4 of our players are second year students, and they are working on a final major project. Now, at the start of the year, they were working together, but since being in an Overwatch team, playing for so many months, they actually improved those skills. The way that they, developed the rest of the team that they were working with, the way they talk to each other. I'd already seen how much the games had already improved on them, but also things like students that didn't necessarily have the confidence to speak to others, or kind of have a big circle of friends. And I think one player in particular was very quiet at the start of the year in September when I'd met him. And now, he's very much open with a bigger group of friends. And that's always nice to see, that
brilliant, yeah.
a student doesn't feel that sort of nervous being around other people. And this particular student, we've told him that he's going to be our new captain next year.
Excellent.
Which is such a big deal to him. It makes him so happy. He's developed this confidence that he probably didn't think that he would have had without the tournament as well, which is great. I think the other part is inclusion. They feel like what Rob said, it's all part of this big community. And because of how big I'm trying to push esports in the college, it's kind of already becoming a community for other students that aren't necessarily on the team, but they want to support, and they all feel included because it's their friends or it's someone on their course. it's something that the college is representing. It's representing someone like them, to really sort of feel good about themselves. Um, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I
That
love that. Love that.
yeah,
And really nice that you got to make him captain for next year. So that's fantastic.
yeah, he's really chuffed about it, so he deserves it.
So yeah, Rob, you've got quite a good story, I suppose, because one of your students is, sort of leading it and has now left. But I mean, I'll let you tell it. So
Yeah, he's Tom Hayes has been fantastic. He was the guy that came to me asking to be involved, and he has played. I mean, he's a Rocket League player, but he's not always been in the team, and he wasn't in the Rocket League team this season, for example. But he just has brought everyone together. Has just been superb. He's currently organising tournaments as we speak, during this weird time, but keeping it going. And we've had Minecraft, Rocket League. I think there's been a Fortnite tournament. Just
brilliant.
it's that community again, and it's bringing people. We have a house system at our school, and it's always house based, so we're still keeping that school spirit kind of going as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Guys, we're just going to go for a quick beer out back, and should be back in about 3 to 4 minutes. But I'll see you guys soon. Thanks. audio is off. Thank you very much in the chat. I appreciate the help there. But yeah, no, I was just saying, welcome back, guys. Thank you very much for bearing with us. Yeah, so are there any other issues, we felt have really impacted us? Obviously, from a school's perspective, there is a lot more things that have been impacted, but for us, being in the digital industry, we can actually continue to play games, organise tournaments. Like you said, you've got your student there who's being really proactive and doing a lot of stuff like that. Do you think that we should be playing more games during these times and trying to keep the community going through esports?
Yeah, definitely. I think just bringing up the word community again, because it's so fitting when it comes to games and esports, that we should be playing games with each other on our own. I think it keeps your mind active. There's a lot of positivity that comes from playing games, educational value to an extent as well. That yeah, it's the perfect time to start playing if you're not already.
Okay, and what about you, Rob? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I I don't know, it might be the kind of generation at first that had a computer right from the word go. I grew up with Spectrum and kind of went through various systems. And I've always, even now, you still get this, oh, aren't you a bit old? Isn't it time you grew up? But and that obviously, I clearly am a lot older than the students, but it's changing. It's now acceptable, which is great. We're getting rid of that stigma that's attached to games and gaming, and even just the communication alone, especially in these times. My eldest plays online, and he's able to keep up with his friends. It's so important at the moment. It's just a fantastic tool to keep in touch and to have some fun as well.
Yeah, I think definitely fun. We don't mention that enough actually, because we're so focused on kind of educating teachers and parents and things. We actually forget like one of the most key things is they're having so much fun whilst doing it, and that's the whole point and the reason. But yeah, I mean, we've got some really really good fun things coming up. On behalf of the British Esports Association, I can't talk too much about them at the moment because I'm obviously still waiting for confirmation. But fingers crossed, we'll be keeping that community spirit going over the next few months, particularly during these hard times. So speaking of the future, Rob, you've been doing this now for a few seasons. Shubs, this is your first time. You're kind of fairly new this season. So is there anything? And let's start with you, Shubs, because you're fresh and
Okay.
fresher than Rob, should I say? But is there anything you'd like to see from us as an organisation in the future? Is there anything that we could improve on in terms of our championships, or whether we're standalone tournaments, or even just the way we run the organisation?
I think the way that everything's run and the tournament itself is great. It's so easy to follow. If someone like me, who's fairly new to esports coming in, it's very much sort of explained quite well. Like that part is all great. One of the things I would like to see is more of this whole thing about inclusion. So it is up to the teachers at the moment, I guess, to try and include all the students or as many students as we can. But as we've got Overwatch, that's a 6-player team. What about other students that don't necessarily get onto the team? What can they do? And I'm looking at developing that provision in the college by getting perhaps film and TV involved, where they could do a live show of one of the games and we can have a student vision mix in and that kind of stuff.
Fantastic.
But if there was something that was recognised by the British Esports Association, that would be really cool, because it kind of makes it a lot more students to be willing to take part as well.
That's a really good idea.
Because we are, even if it's just particular job roles that other students can do, and it's like, well, you could do this even though you're not on the team, but you're part of a team. And I think that will be really good, especially for cross college involvement. And that's something that I'd like to focus on a little bit more. Just because I come from a games design background in terms of teaching doesn't mean that I can only work with game students. It should be kind of across the college, if that makes sense. So that would be really cool to try and get everyone or as many people involved as possible.
Yeah, that's brilliant. No, yeah, I mean, obviously we'll be posting out feedback to you guys, based on all of the reactions we've received from every team this season, as we do every season, and then we'll be reviewing it over the next few months in terms of coming up for September. But that's a really good suggestion. Really like that. I'm sure we'll take that to the team. But yeah, Rob, anything from yourself? Obviously, you've had a bit more seasoning with us, so anything that you think that we could improve on?
Well, I echo those sentiments actually. We're getting more and more lads involved in the casting side.
Yes, brilliant.
And currently we also actually have a caster at a different school who's kind of become part of the team just
Okay.
because his school don't have any provision. So that's been nice just to kind of foster that into school community. But it's
how did that happen? Is that person one of your one of your students' friends, or
yes,
did
who
okay.
they're looking at getting involved themselves, but whilst but again, it's just finding someone to help them set it up.
Mm-hmm.
But having those, again, it's these students. Sometimes they are the quieter ones, but all of a sudden you put a mic in front of them and get them to talk about something that they're passionate about, and they're different people.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great news. Yeah, I mean, I really like the idea of sorting out something for people who are doing streaming and production and being part of the AV team. It's a really rewarding process. It teaches you a lot of really cool skills, that industries are obviously looking for. So it's definitely something that I think we should probably investigate over this interim break between now and September. And yeah, we'll take that to the team and see if we come up with anything. So I'm very happy for you guys to stay on and chat here all day long. But is there anything you particularly want to discuss? Between yourselves or just with me? Any questions you want to ask or anything like that?
I think just the point to make about the support and the how esports I think is seen it in a lot of schools. When we first started, there was a few eyebrows raised and a bit of sniggering going on because obviously we're just playing computer games and where's the benefit in this? And all of a sudden, we had a bit of success, and obviously I had Tom H that was driving it, and before long we've got a weekly email that goes out. The head has been really supportive. Turns up and watches some of the fixtures. Certainly pops his head in and makes sure everyone's doing well. And slowly but surely we're changing. A lot of the staff still maybe see it as a bit of fun, but of course, as our recent tournament shows, when over 400 lads turn up to watch lads play Super Smash Bros, that's something special, and the head's realizing the importance of tapping into it.
How many students do you have at your school, Rob?
I think it's been about 1,200, 1,300.
Wow, so a third of your school's getting involved. That's fantastic. That's amazing. Yeah, that's brilliant. Actually, I didn't ask you as well. Actually, what's the Coventry kind of participation level? What's your maximum amount of students and stuff, and how many of them are involved?
So because we have a provision that's 16 to mature students, we've got over 1,000 students across the year. And then we've got courses that only last for a couple of terms and evening courses as well. So it's around the 1,000 mark. However, we have several courses sort of getting involved with our esports. So I'd say about 50 students.
Wow.
Of course, I want that to change and I want it to be a lot higher than that. But yeah, we have about that much within our esports provision. So that also includes the Smash tournament as well, that we've got going on as well.
That's awesome. So I just had a question in the chat here. Are there any other games that you'd like to see played? Open to both of you. part of our tournament?
Well, if you go by the student, obviously FIFA's probably still the number one requested, and Fortnite is still requested a fair bit, but FIFA's number one, I think.
There's such difficult games for us. I mean, a lot of the ethos behind British esports is, working in a team, and coordinating and, getting that confidence to play together and come out of your shell. And it's really difficult with FIFA because it's majoritively a single player game. It's majoritively a word. I'm getting confused here. Monday morning. But it's majority of a single player game. That you can do it 2-player, but it's just not the considered competitive game mode. So it's kind of difficult for us. Whilst we'd love to do standalone tournaments, and even if we did it in 2s or a few players, 5 players, or however many you can go to, that would be more suitable for us. But yeah, hopefully
the older students definitely keep requesting politely COD.
Yes, well, I mean, that's again a big issue as well, is obviously age verification, and we have to be very conscious that our tournament is inclusive of everybody from 12 to 19 or even slightly higher in some cases. But yeah, and then Fortnite is again one of those awkward situations because it's such a unique genre. You've got 100 people or 2 lots of 50. But either way, it's almost impossible to pull off in terms of a school tournament. If we did squads, there might be some scope for it, but it's more of a tournament project, I think, than it would be for a season-long, league. I think you'd be much more better suited to a sort of one-off tournament, and potentially something that we'd be looking forward to doing, maybe over the summer, perhaps. So I think. If I can see a lot of people in the chat shouting about Valorant. Have you guys heard of this new game, Valorant?
Yes, I've not played it, but I've seen some gameplay. It seems quite popular. I think potentially that could be something.
Yeah, so it's Riot's version of CS:GO, which is obviously an 18+ and has all sorts of negative things surrounding it, shall we say. But this version of Valorant is a lot more colourful, it's a lot more vibrant, it's got themes like you'd expect from the same gameplay as Overwatch, so it's much more suitable, I think, for something like us and our organisation, the British Esports Association. I think could quite possibly once it's out of beta, of course, because we're still very fresh, having only just been released last week. But yeah, fingers crossed, that could be something that we'd love to see from my side as well. Obviously it's not just my opinion, but I think, we could definitely look into doing that. So I think we've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to go through today. Thank you very much for being here with me and answering some questions. Next week I've got on Tom, your student from AGSB, so we're going to hear from him and a couple of other students as well. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Thank you very, very much for coming on today and having a chat with me. It's been great to hear your opinions and your perspectives, and I've just listened to your stories about the championships. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Have a great Easter weekend, or the remainder of it, and we'll catch up soon.
Right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys. That was great. So right now I'll just give you a brief feel of what's coming up next. Obviously, we're going to enjoy the rest of our bank holiday Monday. It looks very bright and sunny out there today. And then eat some chocolate, hopefully, I think left over from yesterday. But yeah, this week's streams, as I said earlier, I just want to say, Wednesday's one is cancelled. Well, it's not cancelled, it's postponed to Thursday, but you'll see a webinar on Thursday from myself, and then I'll be back on Friday as well with the fun stream. So look forward to that. Thank you very much for joining in the chat. Appreciate the questions, and we'll see you soon. Take care.